നന്ദന ഷെയർ ആക്കിയിട്ടുണ്ട്, തുടങ്ങിക്കോളൂ.
Okay, Gigi. So, can we start?
ആയിക്കോട്ടെ.
Good evening, all. Welcome to yet another series of MEDINSPIRE talks in regard with MEDMEET 2.0 conducted by the College Union 2022 Calicut Medical College in association with DOCTUTORIALS. With me today is Padmasri, Dr. Emma Rajgopal sir, the Director, Trivandrum Institute of Palliative Care, the World Health Organization Collaborating Center, and the founder chairman of Pallium India. Welcome, sir, to this series.
Hello. Hey.
Before the session, a brief introduction about Dr. Rajgopal sir. Dr. Rajgopal sir is known for his initiative contributed to develop a government policy on palliative care in the state of Kerala 2008 and the Government of India's National Palliative Care Strategy in 2012. His efforts removed the regulatory barrier in the availability of oral morphine, and the amendment in National Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Act India 2014 made him divine for making millions to access pain relief. The international organization Human Rights Watch honored him with Allison's Days Forges Award at Los Angeles in November 2014. In 2017, a documentary film titled Hippocratic 18 Experiments in Gently Shaking the World, based on Dr. Rajgopal's contribution to palliative care, was released by Moonshine Academy, Australia. He was named one of the 30 most influential leaders in hospice and palliative care by American Academy of Hospice and Palliative Medicine in the same year. In 2018, he was honored with the Padma Shri, the third highest civilian award of our nation. Recently, he has published his memoir called Walk with the Weary about his life and service in palliative care. Once again, I welcome you, sir, for this session.
Thank you. Thank you, Nandana. Thank you for the kind words and for the welcome.
Thank you, sir. So, although we know a peripheral thing about palliative care, my first question is that what actually is palliative care and how is it different from the hospice care?
I'm glad you asked the question, Nandana, because the term is very often misunderstood. And I hope we'll be able to bring it from the periphery to the center. Uh, Palliative care uh, is defined by the World Health Organization some 20 years back. And that's about a mile and a half long definition. Let us forget that for the time being and use another phrase that a Lancet Commission report of 2017 used. Palliative care is alleviation of all serious health related suffering. I repeat, alleviation, that is prevention and management of all serious health related suffering. Hospice care is also palliative care, but when applied to the end of life. So if you imagine two large circles, one inside the other, the larger circle would be palliative care and the smaller would be hospice in one part. And I would just add one couple of sentences there. Palliative care, I said, should come to the center, not only because I'm a fanatic about palliative care, but because that is your duty of care and my duty of care. What is the duty of care of the doctor? Is it only to diagnose and treat diseases?
No, sir, of course.
A rather famous Australian psychiatrist by name Eric Castle said, "It is persons that suffer, not bodies." You and I are being trained, or you are being trained, and I have been trained to look at diseases and organs and microorganisms and tumors. You were not taught to look at human beings. They are more than containers of disease. Seeing them as a whole, identifying their suffering, and alleviating that is palliative care.
Okay, sir. So, one doubt is that when should a patient take palliative care? That is, if he is diagnosed with serious final stages of cancer, uh, uh, could he get the palliative care when the treatment is started, or only when he is sure that he will not be back to normal?
So let me clarify. Tomorrow, if I have a disease like cancer, it doesn't have to be cancer, any disease that causes significant suffering. Listen, I do not want to wait till I am actually dying to get some relief. When should we give it? When there is suffering. So, from the time of the person arriving in the hospital, along with diagnosis and treatment of the disease, the suffering needs to be treated. In an ideal world, uh, both will happen together. For example, in a Western European country, every medical student has been taught palliative care. Every doctor, when he or she qualifies, is able to integrate some palliative care into his or her work. If there is pain, they treat it scientifically. If there is breathlessness, they treat it scientifically. If there is depression, they explore. No, it did not happen in our country, but it is starting. Uh, you joined fairly recently. From 2019, you have palliative care in the curriculum. And as you progress from first year to the house surgency, at every year, a little more will be added in form of palliative care teaching. So palliative care should be done by every doctor. But every doctor may have problem treating some symptoms. For example, intractable pain that is not relieved with medications that you know. When you have such intense problems, then a specialist palliative care unit looks after them. Till then, it's for every doctor and every nurse to treat.
Okay, sir. So, can you share how the patients often find their way to your institution? That is, whether they directly come to you, or the consultant doctor will guide them to you.
Both happen. Uh, we don't insist on a formal referral. If a patient comes to us, we look after them. Sometimes patients refer other patients. But it's
Oh,
also true that more than half our patients are sent to us by other doctors. We also conduct an outpatient clinic within the Trivandrum Medical College Hospital. So naturally, patients from within the hospital, if they are suffering, may, provided the treating doctor uh, understands palliative care, get referred to our clinic. And then at any point of time, if I'm not clear in any point way, you must ask me again.
what is the role of the patient's family in a
Hmm.
palliative care, sir?
Uh, they are both caregivers and care receivers. They are more of caregivers than anyone else, including the doctor or nurse, because they are there from the time of the beginning of the suffering till the end, in the vast majority of situations. So they are part of our caregiving team. We very often consider them outsiders. We are eager to push them out of the hospital. But they can be the most powerful allies in our work. They are part of the team. Having said that, think of it in another way. Is it only the patient who is suffering? Does the family not suffer with the patient?
No.
Of the people who are
Yes.
listening to this, at least one third of you would have the experience of someone with a serious illness within the family, maybe a grandparent, maybe a parent, an uncle, or aunt. And everyone who has gone through that experience will recognize that the whole family is suffering. So, palliative care, by definition and practice, is for the patient and the family.
Okay, sir. You have made tremendous contributions for the amendment of the National Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Act 2014. Can you share the memories of your works or any projects or any difficulties you have faced in achieving this?
In First and foremost, it was the effort of a lot of people, a lot of organizations. Okay, my colleagues and I walked that path for 19 years. It took a long time. Uh, it's not easy to get a law passed by the parliament. At every session of the parliament, there are usually more than 300 items waiting in the waiting list. If there are disruptions to the parliament, only 10 or 15 get passed. At that time, that was the situation. So, what I'm saying is this: it took us 17 years to get it tabled before the parliament, and it was getting postponed. And finally, it happened on the last day of the last session of the parliament in 2014 January. Now, that's one event, but what followed was consistent work. Initially, it was even difficult to get an entry into those circles. Then, working with the Department of Revenue in drafting it, in fixing it when there were holes or gaps. So, it took a lot of time, yes.
How is the financial management of the patients done in your institution as a non-governmental organization?
There are two elements to my answer, Vandana. The first is if we are looking at suffering, the suffering is not only physical, we said it is emotional, spiritual, and social. And that social element also involves the financial destruction of families. This is an element. Uh, if I ask you, to anyone who is listening, say, make a rough guess of how many people would be subjected to catastrophic health expenditure, which results in two-thirds of them going below poverty line. Would it be thousands in India? Tens of thousands? Lakhs? Millions? Crores? Well, actually, it is crores. A study published in the British Medical Journal in 2018, after detailed evaluation, estimated that 55 million people, 5.5 crores of Indians, are subjected to catastrophic health expenditure. That's more than 4% of the population, ladies and gentlemen. This is growing. India is one of the 12 worst countries in the whole world, according to World Bank data, for financial destruction of families, catastrophic health expenditure. This is something that I hope everyone will remember. Before you pick up your pen and start writing a prescription, something that the medical representatives were pushing, remember, they will tell you only about the expensive medicines. No medical representative ever has come to me promoting something that is inexpensive. When you write that prescription without enough thought, you are possibly causing a child in that family to starve. Another child may be dropping out of school. These are realities that we'll remember. But can we solve all the problem of poverty in the country? Can we solve it for that 55 million Indians? Well,
Of course not.
well, maybe someday when we all work together, it may be. But everyone who is listening to this, please remember, when I am your patient tomorrow, please remember the one big favor you can do to me is to be mindful the financial implication of treatment. At least we can avoid inflicting unnecessary cost. Never write prescription for the fourth and fifth medicines in your list, which are usually multivitamin mineral preparations coming in attractive curvaceous bottles. Don't. Don't prescribe things that are not proved beneficial by evidence. Limit the number. And also in many other ways, including spending the end of life in an ICU. What use is the intensive care when somebody is dying? It's cruelty. So that is one part of it. We avoid inflicting further burden, but we do what we can. Uh, in our units, in a year, we see somewhere around 4,200 patients. In Kerala, the problem is less. Nevertheless, we end up providing monthly food kits to at least 100 families who would starve without it. You don't know how many people starve when they are struck down by an illness and their families. So that's part of it. When the problem is extreme, we seek help. We make a post on the social media. We write to every donor. Here is such and such an issue. Would you like to contribute? But most importantly, we look for children in those families who may drop out of school. Easy to destroy a whole future of a child with that 1 month of support. They need very little. In the month of May, if they have some 800 rupees or 1,000 rupees for the book, bag, notebooks, everything, they may get to school. So our volunteers make sure that that also gets done. This is the kind of financial support that we give. We cannot resolve the issue of huge burden of debt that many people have. This is called
Okay, sir.
financial toxicity of treatment, Nandana and everybody. Financial
Okay.
toxicity. Be mindful of financial toxicity.
So, sir, how do you admit the patients? Is there any criteria for admission procedures to be done in the institutions of palliative care?
So, by the way, very few patients are admitted for care with us. We have only 14 beds. Everybody, anybody who is not afraid to think about that thing, prospect. If you or one of your relatives was having a serious illness towards the end of life, where would you like to be?
Of course, in our own home.
So we facilitate that whenever possible. Of those 4,200 odd patients, most of them live in their homes. And if they are having an incurable illness, they die in their homes. Our admission is only for those who cannot get enough relief in the home environment. That happens. So they are registered with us if they say they are in serious health-related suffering. But if they are already under treatment of somebody else, like an oncologist or a pulmonologist, we inform them. Mr. So and so or Miss So and so came here with severe pain. We are trying to look after her pain. We'll send him or her back to you as soon as this problem is resolved, so that the joint treatment is possible.
So, do palliative care offer door-to-door relief activities, or how is the works going on like that?
Precisely, that is it. In the geographical area that we cover, we provide home visits. In fact, in our unit, I told you that we have only 14 beds, but 7 teams go out every day on home visits. They will cover a particular area and cover those patients in that area, and different teams will go to different places every day. So, uh, when somebody is no longer ambulant, you should realize that the majority of people, except the rich, may not get to a care facility, get to a hospital. And if they are, particularly if they are not ambulant, we have a responsibility to get to them. This is not only a personal opinion. A global declaration called the Astana Declaration of 2018, with all member countries, including India, participating, said that healthcare has to reach people where they are, when they need it, where they are. It is not often done in India, I know, but certainly all over Kerala, more than 250 organizations provide home visits to patients, the local community taking responsibility for their care. The facilities available may be very variable, but at least they are not left alone.
Okay, sir. Um what do you think that every hospitals, multi-specialty, super specialty hospitals should have a palliative care unit within their hospital for their patients, or there should be separate clinic for providing palliative care? What do you think about it? Which one will be more better?
Both. Uh, so, I mean, let me explain what I mean. In two hospitals in India, one is Catcher Cancer Center in Silchar in Assam, the other is Cancer Research Institute in Dehradun. We work with those institutions to make them pain-free hospitals. Every patient coming there is asked by a nurse, "Do you have pain?" And the pain is scored according to severity. And they are all offered pain treatment, not necessarily by a palliative care unit, but by the treating doctor. Every doctor and every nurse in the hospital goes through a basic training program in pain management. Uh, but in between, they may find that one particular person's pain is difficult to control, or a breathlessness is difficult to control, or this person is in intense depression. They may then get referred to a specialized palliative care unit. So it's really both. The majority of patients get palliative care incorporated into their disease specific treatment by the treating doctor, and a minority of patients with more difficult problems go to the specialist palliative care unit. Did I answer your question? Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Sir, what is the ratio? Can you give a rough ratio of the children to all these people who are undergoing the palliative care? Uh, how is that? Is the children more involved in palliative care needed?
Oh, uh, the ratio, uh, the palliative care need in children may be only 2 to 4% of the whole population. But that doesn't make a small number in a country with 1.35 billion population. And actually, there's another element to that. The numbers are smaller, but the numbers receiving palliative care is very much abysmally small. An adult is more likely to get palliative care in our country. Children are not given it. This is a sad situation. To some extent, it is true for many countries, but certainly the situation is very bad in our country. We love children, but we are very cruel to them.
Currently, what are the programs going run by the government, central and the state governments, for providing free palliative care for the public or the patients in need?
Uh, Let me first talk about Kerala. In 2008, Kerala brought out its palliative care policy. It is not achieving everything that should be done, but remember the positive. Every bed-bound patient in every single of one of 900 odd panchayats in the state get at least one home visit a month by a specially trained palliative care nurse. It's not a small thing. People who would have never seen a health facility in that condition get a visit at home. Is that enough? Of course not. That policy document has been reviewed and uh, new version has been brought out in 2018. The pandemic threw it all out of gear, but now it's being revived. So that's about the state. Central, it happened much later, but many things are happening. In 2017, the new national health policy included palliative care incorporated into the primary level. Not only in the policy, but national level palliative care trainers have been trained. State level palliative care trainers have been trained in every state so that more than 50,000 family wellness centers would have staff, maybe at least three each, with some significant awareness of palliative care. That's not a small thing. But even more importantly, since 2019, Nandana, your curriculum includes palliative care. That is very new. Pain management, end of life care, attitude, ethics, communication, all these have been brought in. And much later, from 2021, it has got into the BSc nursing curriculum also. These are huge achievements. So the stage is set now. I think we are just entering on a steep part of the growth curve. Stage is set for relief of a huge burden of suffering within the country.
So, sir, how are the drugs like morphine, such drugs applied on patients? Is it by the patient's request or by only used only according to the need if necessary?
Any medical decision is shared decision making. This is my body. You may be the big doctor, but I have more right over my body than you. If you give me a tablet, I'll take it only if I want to. Otherwise, it will all be under the pillow. So it is shared decision making, but it's our responsibility as medical professionals to educate the patients and families about the medicine. So if they need controlled medicines like morphine, some people, especially the educated people, may be scared stiff about it. Will it cause addiction? Will my dad become an addict? These are questions they may have in their mind. So we have to explain all the positives and negatives, explain how we can use it safely, and then get their cooperation. That's how it is done.
You have said that doctors and nurses are providing palliative care. And what are the role of other people? So, in your institution, who are the other qualified persons of your institutions other than doctors and nurses?
I, in the beginning, said Suffering can be not only physical, but social, emotional, or spiritual. You, the busy doctor, may not have time or even expertise to go into all that. We have 7 doctors in our team, but we have 13 medical social workers with specialized training in counseling also. So they look after the psychological, social, and spiritual issues. I mean, more than the others. Every doctor and every nurse also is involved in the process. But these people will give special attention to those people. They are very important. So, and equally important is the smaller number of physiotherapists we have. We have only 2 physical medicine doctors working part time and 5 full time physiotherapists in our team. They are vitally important. And people sitting in a corner of the hospital whom nobody ever bothers about, the pharmacists, they are vitally important. They are the ones very often who have to clear these doubts. When the doctor, explain, they will nod and they may be too scared to talk to a doctor freely. But they will get to the pharmacist and as the medicines are being given, they will ask, മോളെ ഇത് കുഴപ്പമുള്ള മരുന്ന് വല്ലതും ആണോ? And that's the opportunity. So it's a teamwork. Nobody is less important. For example, the person at the gate, maybe a security person, if he is a ferocious kind of person who is so unwelcoming, how bad will the person feel as he or she enters the place, or the receptionist, or the person who cleans the rooms? They are all important. It's teamwork. It's multidisciplinary teamwork. The doctors need to remember that because we are used to being the captain and order of everybody around. But when we realize that very often the others do such a lot for patients, then we will get more used to teamwork.
So, do you think that the doctor should need an additional course for providing palliative care? As of now, only few colleges like All India Institute of Medical Science provide such courses for palliative care. So, what do you think about the necessity of an additional or the MD course for palliative care?
I earlier said that every doctor has to practice palliative care. I also said that more difficult problems may have to be handled by a specialist palliative care doctor. This may be of several categories. I have had only a few weeks of formal education on palliative care, whereas these doctors who are doing their MD and DNP would be so much more knowledgeable than I. Compassion alone is not enough. Competence is important. Between the institutions running MD in palliative medicine, which are, I think, 6 now, and so many institutions doing DNB teaching DNB in palliative medicine, the annual intake is about 30. That's an abysmally small number for uh, a country with 1.35 billion people. Can they do most of palliative care? Of course they cannot. It will be many years before we'll have enough super specialized palliative care physicians. They are very important because they set the benchmark. They are more knowledgeable than many people, including me, current practitioners. But and they also will have to get more engaged with need-based research in palliative care. They will be the educators also in future. So that's important. But what about the thousands of doctors who need to be trained? So many organizations, including Institute of Palliative Medicine in Calicut, or our institution in Trivandrum, or the Institute of Palliative Care in Thrissur, so many of them provide certificate courses and foundation courses. So any one of you, after your MBBS final exam, when you are waiting for the results and how soon it will start, you can even undergo a virtual education course. Okay, during your MBBS course, you would have learned quite a lot of palliative care if you join medical colleges after 2019. But that may not be enough. It's not at all difficult to join virtual courses. And our own organization, palliamindia.org, uh, write to us or go to one of these training centers and get some more virtual education and, when possible, also some practical hands-on experience.
What will you like to say to the upcoming doctors? What are the qualities they should build up to set their field in palliative medicine?
Hmm. Uh, in three words: compassion and competence. You need both. Compassion without competence can be cruel. Competence without compassion can be cruel. Much of our education, however, medical education, is aimed at facts being crammed in here. Fill it with information. Compassion is seldom talked about. Uh, Let me ask you, if you find a patient in the ward, maybe with inadequate family support, who is hungry and is deprived of a meal, will you buy him a meal?
Yes, sir, of course.
I'm glad. I'm glad. I hope the answer is yes for everybody. And I've seen in to enter medical college, medical students forming informal groups, making sure that nobody is without enough food. They will always have a few patients on their list who need to be fed. There may be free food being served outside if somebody can go in and queue up, but many of the time they may not be able to go. So, that basic human compassion is essential and it is permissible. Sometimes we believe that once we have the white coat and stethoscope hanging around the neck, we need to assume a muscular rigidity and stop being human. It's good to be a human being. We shouldn't forget the essential feature of compassion. But then, as I said, you also need to be knowledgeable, no doubt about it. I hope the doctors who treat me tomorrow will be both compassionate and competent.
Yes, sir, we will gain it. So, as we are moving to the end of the session, can you please share an experience you have seen that will inspire us to take palliative care as our future area of work? Any of
Everybody has
the
to everybody has to take palliative care as your work area, even if you do not become a palliative care specialist. Whether you are a cardiologist or a neuro-ophthalmologist, you still need to know your palliative care so that you can relieve my suffering. So that is essential. Uh, Sorry, Nandana, I lost the
it's okay, sir.
chain of thought. What was the question again?
Any of the scenes
Ah,
that you have seen, any sufferings or from any part of relatives or from the patient itself?
in Calicut Medical College, I once had a person being brought in, begging to be killed. He was in agonizing pain, and just to relieve the pain, he was striking his head against the wall, and the head was breaking and blood was coming out. There were a few of our people around the person, and they were trying to relieve the pain. And as I moved towards them, a woman tugged at my sleeve, and she said, എന്തെങ്കിലും മരുന്ന് കുത്തിവെച്ച് ഒന്ന് കൊന്നോളി കണ്ടിരിക്കാൻ കഴിയുന്നില്ല. Please put something into his vein and kill him. I cannot bear to see the suffering. So, as we very often do when there is agonizing pain, we get a vein, or at least subcutaneously if a vein is not accessible, and put in tiny doses of morphine or fentanyl, one of those opioids. The next day, when I went there, the man was sitting up, enjoying idli with some sambar, though not a huge quantity. And with a sheepish grin, he asked me, നിങ്ങൾ നമ്മുടെ വേദന മാറ്റി തന്നില്ലേ ഈ സൂക്കേട് കൂടെ ഒന്ന് മാറ്റി തരൂ. Now, that was hard because now his agenda had shifted. He wanted a cure. Well, we then had the difficult task, but essential task, of bringing his expectations back to achievable levels. Truth is a powerful therapeutic tool, friends. Truth is a powerful therapeutic tool if used in the right dose at the right time. You can't bluntly tell him, hey, no, sorry, this is advanced cancer, you are not curable. That's not what we say. We first find out what he knows. അല്ല, ഡോക്ടർമാർ പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ട് മാറൂല്ല എന്നൊക്കെ, എന്നാൽ നിങ്ങൾ നമ്മുടെ വേദന മാറ്റി തന്നില്ലേ, ചിലപ്പോൾ നിങ്ങളെ കൊണ്ട് പറ്റും. So he was hoping for the last straw. And then we will be compassionate to them. And we may say, not in, I mean, in the beginning, not, no, it cannot be cured. That would be the wrong answer. That is using truth as a weapon. No, truth should be used as a tool. And when we convey the bad news, we should convey it concurrently, pointing out the most positive point of the situation. So what I told him was, കാതർക്ക സുഖക്കേട് മാറ്റാൻ പറ്റിയില്ലേലും നമുക്ക് ആകുന്നതും ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടില്ലാതെ ഇനിയുള്ള കാലം കൊണ്ടുപോകാൻ നോക്കാം. ഈ വേദനയൊന്നും ഇല്ലാത്ത മട്ടിൽ നമുക്ക് മരുന്ന് തരാം, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇച്ചിരി ഭക്ഷണമൊക്കെ കഴിച്ച് സന്തോഷമായിട്ട് സാമാന്യം സന്തോഷമായിട്ട് കഴിയത്തക്ക രീതി നമുക്ക് ചെയ്യാം. സോ ഐ ടോൾഡ് ഹിം ദാറ്റ് I called him by name and the form of address to an elder brother and said, even if it cannot be cured, we will at least make you comfortable so that you are able to remain reasonably pain free. You are able to have some food with your family for as long as possible. I did not tell
Okay,
him
sir.
any lies, gave him truth, but gave it to him with compassion. He was not, do you think he would be dancing with joy? Of course not.
Of course, no.
He was sad, but he took a couple of days to recover. And then our conversation went on, and we encouraged his sons to ask him, now that you are feeling reasonably well, is there something that you want to do? And
Yeah.
people would give different wishes at that point of time. This man actually wanted to go back to his primary school. He had had only primary education. Possibly that must have been the happiest time of his life. We encouraged the sons to take him to the primary school, which was quite an hour and a half journey away. So he went there on a Sunday when the school was empty, walked around the place, and as he was driving back, he said, എനിക്കിപ്പോൾ സമാധാനമായി മോനെ. I am at peace, son. Every element of what I said is palliative care, relieving that pain and other symptoms, finding out what are the hopes and aspirations, and instilling realistic hope. If I told him a lie, tomorrow he would be disappointed, and then he would lose the trust in me. I would not be able to help him anymore. He would be very angry. Sometimes people are very angry if they are fed lies. So, truth with
Yes, sir.
compassion and fulfilling agendas, legacy. Some people may use that time for something very important like preparing a will. So, those
Okay,
are
sir.
important things.
Okay, sir. Sir, my last question for you is, you have recently published your memoir, Walk with the Weary. One about it, sir. What can we expect from it? What was the inspiration to write it?
So, it actually recounts my journey into palliative care, my life at every stage, where I learned a precious lesson that would be important for palliative care, for any healthcare professional. So those are the contents of the 45 chapters in divided into sections. So it talks about experiences of people who taught me. My patients and families taught me more than I learned from any classroom or from medical textbooks. So it talks about those precious lessons that I learned. It shares those lessons. And towards the end, it talks about what healthcare system should be doing. It imagines a scientist, a researcher, 2 centuries from now, researching on our medicine. Think from that researcher's point of view. Would she be very happy with the way healthcare is run now, where
No, sir.
suffering is ignored, suffering is actually perpetrated, where families are destroyed, where all the publications and research do not make a difference to the people in low and middle income countries, which form 84% of the world. So it is sharing of experiences, sharing of lessons that I learned,
Okay,
and
sir.
and a final message of how I would like to be treated by you all when my time
Okay.
comes.
Okay,
Thank you.
sir. Thank you, sir. And that was a very good ending for the session. And I express my gratitude towards you on behalf of my college union for this wonderful session. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
It's my privilege. I'm sure Nandana and Hannah, thank you for this opportunity. I mean, like I never ever miss any opportunity to talk to medical students or young doctors. I grab every chance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I will surely read the book. I will surely read it. I have
Thank
seen
you.
it in on Amazon also. I will
Yes.
surely. Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. Thank you
Thank
for your
you,
cooperation
Nandana.
and precious time.
My privilege, I'm sure. Thank you. All the best to everybody. May you all become great doctors and full of knowledge, skills, but also compassion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all for your watching. See you on next series of MedMeet.